SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Gateway Rescue Mission, meeting the physical and spiritual needs of the homeless right here in Jackson, Mississippi. Check us out at www.gatewaymission.org.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man.
Good Thursday morning. Welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us as you start your Thursday. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Today we are broadcasting live from Sally Kate Winters Family Services in West Point. This is maybe 5 years in a row that we've been here. I think the fourth year that we have been here to talk about the incredible work that is happening at Sally Kate Winters Family Services. We're going to tell you all about that, not just this morning, but throughout the course of the day. A safe space for children, lots and lots of work that's going on. It is a place that you wish did not exist, but it is a place that is absolutely necessary. And you've got places like this all over the country. This one's special here in West Point, Mississippi, a place where last year nearly 9,500 meals were served to children. Over 3,000 nights of safe shelter were provided. 529 children of all ages, from newborn to young adults, received services here. There were a number, almost 400 felony forensic child interviews that happened, child abuse forensic interviews that happened here. 30 different counties involved in programs here from Sally Kate Winters Family Services, and over 2,300 volunteer hours. So a lot of good that is happening here in a place that is very, very special to this part of the state of Mississippi, the Golden Triangle area. We're glad to be with you. I mentioned Lance in the studio this morning. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Richard. How's it going this morning? Looking sharp as always. And
we're rocking.
We have a big day today at Sally Kate Winters.
I've got my seahorse buddy.
I love it.
Right here over my shoulder. We were talking earlier.
I was like, man, I love
seahorse,
the seahorse.
Or is that like an ocean dragon?
Ocean dragon, seahorse.
He's got some smoke coming out of his nostrils.
Probably
there.
a little dragon, maybe.
Yeah.
Great artwork, though. Love it.
Lots to get to. Yeah, lots to get to. We've got a bunch of interviews that are coming this morning where you're going to learn more about what's happening in this part of the state of Mississippi at Sally Kate Winters Family Services. But we begin, as we always do. Lance told you yesterday you needed glue for your toupee. It was windy, really, really windy last night. As I was driving from Oxford to West Point, it's one of those nights where you felt like you needed to be 10 and 2 on the steering wheel just to kind of keep it between the lines. Wind blowing all over the place. Watching some of the activities at the Capitol yesterday afternoon, listening in on the live stream, you could hear this persistent thump, 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 and it was like, is there like a construction project that's going on in the dome of the Capitol? At one point, you saw everybody looking up. I was like, is there a leak? What are they doing? There's a flagpole on the top of the dome of the Capitol. And you know where you've got the metal connection where the ropes connect and they tie the flag. It was just consistently banging against the flagpole. It was so loud that you could hear it through the live stream that was going on. Wind's going to continue today in West Point where we are. Cloudy skies. Going to become partly cloudy later in the day. Maybe a little sunshine popping through with a high of 86. Winds 10 to 20 miles an hour out of the south-southeast. Clarksdale, thunderstorms likely this morning, then a chance of scattered thunderstorms later this afternoon. A few storms possibly severe. High of 74 today in Clarksdale with winds 10 to 20. A 60% chance of rain there in the Delta. A little farther south at Hattiesburg, going to be cloudy with some partial sunshine through the day. 89 degrees today in the hub city with winds 15 to 25 miles an hour, perhaps gusts up to 40 miles an hour. Coastal Mississippi down in Ocean Springs, it's going to be cloudy with a high of 80 Winds out of the south-southeast, 15 to 25. Gusts over 40 miles an hour. If you're on the golf course today in the Mississippi Gulf Coast, one of those great tracks down there, ball may be going all over the place. Just fight through it. Just deal with it.
Well, today is Tweed Day also, so back, throwback. You put your old tweed woolen cloths on, go out and, hit a bunch of knockdown shots like the Scots would have to do. That's this kind of day you're dealing with the wind. Marlon Brando was born on this day in 1924. Godfather, A Streetcar Named Desire, On the Waterfront, originally born in Omaha, Nebraska. The Godfather is the most important role, right? Oh, yeah. Has to be.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, he put all the marbles in his mouth and everything, and, he played the part so well. So, yeah,
it was good.
Yeah.
Good offer you cannot refuse.
I love it. I love
this day in 1961, a little bit. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, which one of the three of you guys on Sports Talk has never seen the Godfather trilogy? Who was it? I know it was somebody that had not ever watched it.
Well, I had not for the longest time. My guess is that Borky has not. I mean, he's real quick to quote the pop culture movies, but then if you go past about 1990, it's all foreign to him.
Right.
But I did admit that somewhere along, I don't know, years ago, that I had not seen The Godfather.
Yeah.
And Hey Dad was like, he was incredulous about that.
I remember that debate.
And so I felt I needed to watch it, but he said, "Hey, just do yourself a favor. Don't watch number 3." He's like, "Just stop after 2. You will have done what you needed to do." And so I watched Godfather 1 and Godfather 2, and I'm like, "Yeah, I should have done this years and years and years ago."
Yes.
But here we are.
Yeah. Well, at least you got it under your belt now.
Glad that. Absolutely, no doubt. This day, 1961, Eddie Murphy, comedian and actor, born Saturday Night Live from 1980 until 1984, 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cop. All of those. Oh, so good. So good. Born in Brooklyn, New York. And then a more recent pop culture icon, 1972, Jenny Garth was born. You may remember her as Kelly Taylor on Beverly Hills 90210.
Oh, you had Melrose Place and 90210. Those were two you couldn't miss. And what was it, the Peach Pit? Was that the little diner that they all hung out at 90210?
Was that the name of it? Was it the Peach Pit?
I think it was the Peach Pit. If that was like with Jason Priestley.
You may be right. I mean, I remember the diner, and I remember the name.
It just somehow or another that was in
I'll
there.
let you.
Yeah, I'll dig around and find that. Somehow or another that sounded right, but it's probably wrong.
Jenny Garth, a bit of a heartthrob in the 90s for a lot of folks that watched that show. She was born in Champaign, Illinois, which is where the University of Illinois is. This day in 1860, it was the start of the Pony Express. They delivered mail by horse and rider with relay teams between St. Joseph, Missouri, and Sacramento, California. I'm glad they had teams because that would be a long ride for a single person on a horse.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
talk about the need. I mean, you talk about the need for, I don't know, Boudreaux's butt paste or whatever else. Chafing could have been an issue. It would have been good for like the lower body muscles, though. I mean, your quads, your lower back, you would have had to have been strong if you were going to go all the way. No, the Pony Express, the precursor to the United States Postal Service. I don't know if they operated at the same deficit that the Postal Service does. They were probably more efficient even in 1860.
Yeah, it took them 10 days to make that run. I mean, that's pretty remarkable if you think about it. A 1,900-mile mail delivery in only 10 days on a horse.
There are times when it takes a bill that starts in the hometown in which you live more than 10 days to get to your mailbox. Now, so anyway.
We're going to jump ahead. We got some news headlines to get to. We've got sports headlines coming for you up a little bit later this morning. A lottery update for you as well before we jump into interviews. The big news yesterday nationally was tariffs. We'll hold off on that just for a little bit. We'll get to the news from the legislature from yesterday. But we start with really rough weather. Mississippi largely was spared yesterday from the severe storms. When you looked at the forecast, you knew that there was a chance for severe weather. Most of that, with the big front that was rolling through, slid to the north. Now, we obviously got a lot of wind from that. Selmer, Tennessee, though, in McNairy County, Tennessee. We've got listeners in Selmer. They have long been listeners and have connected with us. I guess through our current station is where they listen. Back-to-back tornadoes hit Selmer in the overnight hours, 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't know why it is that it feels like a nighttime tornado is worse. I guess it's just the fact that you can't see what's going on. You hear it, but you don't necessarily see it. 3 deaths at this point have been reported in West Tennessee. Fayette County, Tennessee was an area. Northeast Arkansas, right there on the river, where it crosses over into Tennessee, was an area that was affected as well. And so for our neighbors just to the north and just to the northwest, we offer our condolences for those that are dealing with loss of life. And Tennessee Highway Patrol encouraging people to continue to stay off the roads as weather conditions still rough. About an hour and a half north of where we sit right now, maybe 2 hours to the north. Just getting started. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi at Sally Kate Winters Family Services in West Point.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center, I'm Patty Steele. Venable Glass in Ridgeland on 51 North and Brandon at 209 Woodgate Drive, Crossgates. Locally owned and operated with free mobile service for you in the Tri-County area. Traffic is moving smoothly right now. We are all clear with no accidents, no major congestion. Trust your heavy haul transportation needs to Southeastern Services. Years of experience hauling and operating heavy equipment. You can trust their team to handle your jobs with confidence. Call Southeastern Services today.
Since 1871, Gaddis McLaurin Mercantile in downtown Bolton has been providing everything you need. Everything for your house, fencing, plumbing, flowers, lumber. Everything for your animals, dogs, cats, birds, chickens, cows, horses. And everything for your patio and yard. Bayou Classic cookers, wind chimes, Orca and Pelican coolers. We have most everything. 150 years of serving the community, family owned and operated. Gaddis McLaurin Mercantile, downtown Bolton since 1871. We'll see you soon.
At Key Constructors, our mission is to build a legacy that will stand the test of time through hard work, dedication, and pursuing excellence. Key Constructors is a heavy civil construction company, a leader in the bridge construction world. Our goal is to provide a positive work environment for you to grow personally and in your career. We are proud of who we are and what we do, making it happen one bridge at a time. Come join our team of Black Label Bridge Builders. Check out Key Constructors on Facebook and other social media platforms and keyconstructors.com.
Think for a moment about everything you own. The furniture, closets full of clothing, kids' toys, all that stuff in the garage. Moving to a new location, whether it's across town or across the country, can be stressful on you and on your belongings. That's why you call 2 Men in a Truck. They can move a few items from room to room, rearrange furniture, or carefully pack everything and deliver it safely to your new location. When you need friendly, reliable moving services for home or business, call 2 Men in a Truck, the movers who care. 2meninatruck.com.
The one body shop that's always believed in using OEM parts and repairing vehicles to their original factory condition is Clinton Body Shop. Auto accidents are stressful, and the last thing you need is a repair that devalues your car and makes it unsafe. In a time when more than ever insurers are pushing consumers to body shops that work for them and not you, we want to remind you Clinton Body Shop believes you deserve to have your vehicle returned to its pre-accident condition. That's why we use OEM parts and OEM repair procedures. In fact, we're trained and certified by more automakers than any body shop in Mississippi. So remember, it's your right to choose where to get your repair. So choose Clinton Body Shop in Clinton or Richland. As our founder always said, we really do take pride in perfection. Go to ClintonBodyShop.com.
News.
No talking points and no spin. Just the truth as we cover the news. That's what you get with me. It's Eric Erickson, weeknights starting at 9 p.m. right here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Inside track on Mississippi politics. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Mornings with Richard Cross. Just getting rolling with you on this Thursday in the Magnolia State. Broadcasting live today from Sally Kate Winters Family Services in West Point. Alongside Lance, I'm Richard. Thanks for joining us. The C Spire text line is open to you, 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. Your team has you covered on the field. C Spire has you covered everywhere else with the best technology for home, work, and on the go. They're backed by local 24/7 customer support. Learn more at cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. Thanks for joining us this morning as the train goes by. So we're not the only ones awake. We've got the conductor. Is that right? The conductor driving the train behind us, and that is probably going to be the case throughout the day. Lance, you had an update. You heard from law enforcement in Marshall County just a little while ago about storm damage potentially there. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Highway 311, Marshall County. Law enforcement just gave us a call and said there was a pretty rough bit of weather that came through around, earlier, and they don't know of any fatalities as now, but as the sun comes up, they'll learn more. But if you're in that area, be real careful. Because there has been law enforcement called to Highway 311, Marshall County, apparently pretty rough spot in there. So prayers with those. All right. We had somebody tell us, good grief, this was in the overnight hours, back around 3:30. They had tornado sirens that were going off in Watertown. A lot of rain in Spring Hill, but no tornadoes in that particular area. So just be weather aware this morning as much of that system has moved through Mississippi, but maybe some lingering effects in the northern part of the state of Mississippi, and moving into Tennessee. So we'll try to keep you up to date if we get any more information on that. Two of the favorite words in the capital are sine die, and that is what they did yesterday in the House of Representatives. The House passed a resolution to suspend the rules and extend the session by a few days to address budget-related bills. However, the House concurrent resolution had a deadline yesterday of 5 p.m., and that is a deadline that the Senate did not meet. Instead of picking up the resolution, the Senate elected to return today to the Capitol to continue their operations. The House, on the other hand, said, they said sine die. Goodbye, adios, we'll see you soon. We don't know exactly when soon is going to be because the governor is going to call a special session because a budget was not approved in this legislative session. It is expected that the Senate will sine die later this morning, perhaps early in the afternoon, and senators will go home as well. So they've got to finalize the budget by June 30th. July 1st is when the new fiscal year begins for the state of Mississippi. In the event that they do not meet that deadline, and I don't think there's anybody that really believes that will happen, but in the event they don't meet the deadline, you're jeopardizing immediate paychecks for teachers and state troopers and the state medical examiner and other state employees as well. It's something that Lieutenant Governor talked about over the weekend. Really comes as no surprise, though, that a deal was not reached as the chambers have butted heads perhaps, but heads is what I really meant to say, throughout the course of the session over a bunch of issues, whether we're talking about the tax bill or when it came to the budget. The House really frustrated many of the Senate members when they went home this past weekend. This past weekend is what normally is called conference weekend, where everybody stays put. They kind of hunker down in meeting rooms in Jackson and really hash through all the issues related to the budget. It's an opportunity for both sides of the House to ask questions of the other side about specific items within the budget. Certainly there are things that are non-negotiable that are going to happen, but when it comes to some of the other projects that are funded, whether you're talking about
road projects or projects that are in individual districts that are important to certain legislators. They have to hash through all of those things. That didn't happen this past weekend. And actually going a step farther back into that process, usually it's Monday of a week ago, so about 10 days ago when the budget process begins. You have legislators that work into the night hours throughout the week to try to get all of their ducks in a row, and then they really start hammering things out through the weekend to finish up that budget and then vote on it and get it approved before everybody goes home. That did not happen again this year. We were told that it was really Thursday of last week before those high-level meetings started happening, and so here we are. Which means a special session is coming, which means, I think J.T. Mitchell told us earlier in the week, I think we talked about this on Monday morning, about $100,000 a day to the taxpayers of the state of Mississippi for that special session to come into play. Worth noting, because we spent a lot of time on it the last couple of weeks, that Mississippi Hemp Act, it died yesterday. The Senate actually never brought it back up in their chamber, and so that bill died and will not go into effect. There was other legislation that did go into effect, including the DEI bill. You remember the Senate originally had a DEI bill. They sent it to the House. The House changed things up a bunch. There were some things from a language standpoint that they wanted. They sent it back, went to conference, and ultimately there was an agreement on that. That bill was passed. We'll get maybe next week into the details of all that was in that bill. So there you go. That's where we are in the legislature. The House has gone home, and the Senate is going to do that as well. Kind of watched some of the proceedings in the House yesterday as they were wrapping things up, and Speaker of the House, Jason White, said a lot of thank yous. He had a list and thanked everybody that was related to the legislative session that works in the Capitol. It's kind of a cool moment. Took a little while to do it, and then ultimately gavelled out. He invited up his page from the week to strike the gavel for the final time of the 2025 session and bring that to a close. Mentioned tariffs a second ago. That certainly was the big story of the day yesterday. It's what Donald Trump called Liberation Day. It's what lots of people calling the following the stock market, reporting on the stock market called a dark day. So in terms of what's going on with tariffs, far-reaching new tariffs on nearly all United States trading partners, including China, a 34% tax on imports from China, 20% on the European Union, and 10% across the board. In a Rose Garden announcement yesterday, Donald Trump said he was placing elevated tariff rates on dozens of nations that run meaningful trade surpluses with the United States. Said differently, trade deficits that the United States has with other countries. And what we're talking about is the spread between what we make on products that we send out and what we pay on products that are coming in. That 10% baseline tax on imports from all countries is in response to what Donald Trump called not only an economic emergency, but a national security emergency. So where do those tariffs go? They go to the Treasury to help pay the federal government's expenses. Donald Trump has floated the idea of ending the IRS and replacing it with the ERS, the Internal Revenue Service, going to the External Revenue Service, saying that that could replace income taxes. There's a lot that's got to happen if we ever get to that point. How quickly are prices going to go up? Well, it depends on how businesses in the United States and overseas respond. Kind of interesting watching some of the reactions from across the world. Mexico saying we're going to kind of wait and see how this affects India, which has become a more and more trusted ally of the United States, says we want to come to the table immediately to try to get an economic plan in place that works for both sides. What about limit on the president's power? The Constitution grants the power to set tariffs to Congress, but over the years, Congress has delegated the powers to the president through a bunch of different laws. Donald Trump has sought to use emergency powers set out in a law that was put in place in 1977 to impose tariffs as he sees fit. Australia was one of the countries that was like, we don't really get it. We don't understand. We are a great trading partner. We are a great friend of the United States. We're probably not going to put any tariffs or more tariffs put in place on the United States than already exist, but we just don't understand this really isn't how friends treat each other. As you would expect, the markets did not respond favorably. Futures were down in the stock market. Bitcoin dropped 4.5%. Price of gold kind of starting to spike a little bit. It's a bit of a mess. But the question is, what is the pain threshold for Americans, and how will they react to that? Will things settle down before we get to midterm elections, which are, a year and about 8 months away? Or is this going to be a painful lesson for Republicans? More to come on the tariffs conversation, but to say uncertainty reigns supreme right now would be a bit of an understatement. We'll get a lottery update for you coming up in just a minute. Also, a few sports headlines as we move toward the weekend. Big news yesterday out of Oxford as it pertains to the head basketball coach, Chris Beard. Newsflash, he's not going anywhere, at least not right now. We'll take a time out. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, broadcasting live from West Point, Mississippi. We're at Sally Kate Family Services, Sally Kate Winters Family Services. We're back with you right after this.
Mississippi in the know, one morning at a time. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good morning again to you. You've got it locked in on SuperTalk Mississippi. Mornings with Richard Cross. Thanks for being with us. Live from West Point, Mississippi this morning at Sally Kate Winters Family Services. You hear the music. That means it's time for an update from the Mississippi Lottery. We'll give you a rundown of some of the drawings and also some winners from around the state. We start, as always, with Lotto America. No jackpot winner last night. The estimated jackpot for Saturday, we're now closing in on $29 million. $28,720,000 is the jackpot with an estimated cash value of a little over $13 million. Wednesday night's numbers, 12, 28, 39, 41, 44. The star ball was 1, and the all-star bonus multiplier was 3. No jackpot winner in last night's drawing for the Powerball, and so it escalates to $47 million coming up for Saturday night's drawing with an estimated cash value of almost $22 million. Last night's numbers, these weren't winners. 5, 17, 41, 64, 69. Powerball was 1. The Power and Play multiplier was 2. Double play numbers from yesterday, 7, 18, 23, 31, 44 with a Powerball of 24. Had another winner on Mega Millions, right? Oh, no. Sorry, we didn't. I was looking at the cash value. Jackpot for Friday, $43 million. So that's tomorrow's drawing. An estimated cash value of $20 million. That's where the jackpot began just a week ago. Tuesday night's numbers were 11, 12, 21, 29, 49, a mega ball of 3, and the megaplier multiplier of 2. No jackpot winner on Mississippi Match 5. Wednesday night's numbers 3, 16, 17, 23, 27. Estimated jackpot for tonight, $58,000. Let's tell you about the Pink Panther Diamond Tripler bonus drawing that's happening later today. You can follow along on social media to see the winner cities and sign up to be a lottery insider. You do that by going to mslottery.com. You'll receive exclusive emails about all things lottery, including promotion winners, new games, and more. With every Pink Panther bonus promotion in the with every entry into the Second Chance portal, you're not only entering to win bonus prizes, all the way from $100 gift cards up to $15,000 in cash, but also entering for a chance to win $100,000 at the conclusion of the game. I told you you've got new scratch-off from the Mississippi Lottery. You've got the $1 scratch-off for Piggy Bank Bucks, a $5 gold bar bingo, top prize of $75,000 on that, and a $10 scratch-off, Spectacular Riches, a scratch-off with bonus chances to win a grand prize of $200,000. mslottery.com/second chance. All scratch-offs are eligible for the lottery's second chance promotion. Quick reminder, Mega Millions changes starting on Saturday. This Saturday, April 5th, the multi-state lottery game is getting a mega makeover. Bigger jackpots starting at $50 million. Faster growing jackpots, a built-in multiplier on every single play, boosting non-jackpot prizes up to $10 million. And no more break-even prizes. Every win is worth at least double what you spent on the ticket. Cost of a new ticket is $5. Drawings held Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 o'clock Central Time. For more information, go to mslottery.com. They remind you to play responsibly. How about this? A $20,000 winner on a $10 Gold Sevens scratch-off. Meridian Man won that on a ticket from Winn-Dixie in Meridian. You also had a Port Gibson woman with a Cash 4 scratch-off winning $2,700 on a ticket from Nick's One Stop in Port Gibson. So, congratulations to the winners. A couple of sports headlines for you. That update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery. Big story yesterday, and really going back to Tuesday. Buzz Williams, the head coach at Texas A&M, leaving Bryan College Station to be the head coach at the University of Maryland. Seems to be a mutual parting. If you track Buzz Williams' career, you note that about every 5, 6, 7 years he has moved on to another job. His coaching style is extremely intense. And over a period of time, those that work with him, those with whom he works, you get to a point where a fresh start is probably a good thing. Buzz Williams, very successful at Texas A&M, and likely will be so at the University of Maryland as well. Why does that matter? Well, it matters because the head coach at Ole Miss has done good things in 2 years in Oxford. In fact, he's done good things for his entire career. And reports are, or were, that Texas A&M put on a full-court press, pardon the pun, on Chris Beard, offering a reported $7.3 million a year salary. Again, that's just reported. It's not proven. And you know how these things work. They say, we were just having a conversation. Everybody that covers Texas A&M said Chris Beard was not only the number one target, but the only target to begin that search. In addition to the $7+ million salary, it was expected that Texas A&M was going to go, quote, unquote, all in terms of NIL. So what does that mean? Well, Chris Beard yesterday, along with Keith Carter, the athletics director at Ole Miss, announced that Beard was not going anywhere, that he was staying in Oxford. We don't have terms related to his new salary, but if the reporting from Texas A&M is to be believed, is accurate, you have to believe that Ole Miss really stepped up to the plate in terms of salary. Chris Beard was already making about $5 million, so you assume that there is a raise, reportedly more resources for his staff, and perhaps most importantly, in this era of college athletics, a significant increase and commitment to what Ole Miss is doing for basketball on the NIL front, which is a fancy way of saying paying for players. So, more salary, more resources for coaches, more resources to go and get players, leaves a smile on the face of most Ole Miss fans, and perhaps those who are worried about the purse strings, a little concerned because it is a major, major commitment. But Ole Miss showing once again that they are all in terms of retaining coaches who are having success. They've been able to do so with Lane Kiffin for longer than anybody expected him to be in Oxford, and now doing so with Chris Beard as well as he will move toward his third year in Oxford. Of course, Ole Miss coming off a Sweet 16 appearance, lost a 3-point game to Michigan State, 73-70. And there was a lot of exhaling among Ole Miss fans yesterday, and a lot of congratulating and patting on the back of not only Keith Carter, but Glenn Boyce. There's something that has not been talked about a ton in all of this, and that is the alignment that exists between the athletics department and the Lyceum. Things like this don't happen without the chancellor at the university saying, hey, we're going to do what we've got to do to help stabilize things in this uncertain world. So a lot of kudos going to those involved. The SEC baseball weekend begins tonight for the second consecutive weekend. Ole Miss is playing a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. Last weekend it was at home when Ole Miss hosted Florida. This weekend it is on the road. And the weather forecast is not great. So if you are planning on listening on the radio to David Colom and Brad Henderson on the Ole Miss Sports Network from Learfield, or you're planning to watch on the SEC Network, you may need to be flexible in your times. They are scheduled to begin the series at 6 o'clock tonight at Kentucky Proud Park in Lexington. Ole Miss goes in 21-6 overall, 6-3 in the SEC. Kentucky is 17-9. They are 4-5 in the SEC. You perhaps remember that Kentucky is coached by former Mississippi State assistant coach Nick Mingione. He's done a good job in Lexington. That was a really good program a year ago, and Kentucky had some success when they were in Oxford. The other series beginning tonight in the SEC, top 10 matchup between number 7 LSU and number 10 Oklahoma. That game being televised tonight on ESPN2 with a 6 o'clock start. It is in Norman. Rest of the league will get started tomorrow, including Mississippi State back home and looking for wins, needing wins desperately. Bulldogs 1-8 in SEC play. That's the bad news. The good news, the opponent this weekend, South Carolina, also 1-8 in conference play. Scuffling before a midweek win over Presbyterian. South Carolina had lost 7 in a row. It's still a little strange seeing that the head coach for South Carolina is Paul Maneri. He's the former head coach at LSU, had been out of the game for a couple of years, was brought back in and left a lot of people scratching their heads why that is the direction that South Carolina went. It's leaving South Carolina fans scratching their heads as they look at the record in SEC play, seeing the Gamecocks at 1-8. Game 1 of the series between South Carolina and Mississippi State begins tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. That game is being streamed on the SEC Network Plus. And, of course, you can listen on many of these same stations on the Mississippi State radio network from Learfield. Rest of the action this weekend in the SEC has number 23 at Vanderbilt at Florida. Texas A&M is at number 1 Tennessee. And, boy, that's just what you want. When you're 1-8 and struggling in league play, go to the number 1 team in the country, Tennessee, who is 8-1 and is exceptional at home. Top 5 matchup in Austin, Texas. Number 3, Georgia visiting number 5, Texas. Missouri is at number 2, Arkansas. Speaking of Missouri 0-9 in league play to start things off. Number 2, Arkansas 8-1. That's what's happening this weekend in SEC baseball. Coming up next, we'll visit with Ashton Woodson. She's a program coordinator at the Children's Advocacy Center, part of the Sally Kate Winters Family Services Group here in West Point. Glad to be with you on this Thursday morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Know where the news is going next. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
If you're a longtime listener to SuperTalk Mississippi, you know a little about Sally Kate Winters Family Services in West Point. 4th consecutive year that we have been here to talk about the incredible work that is going on. If you're new to SuperTalk Mississippi, perhaps this is entirely new to you. And we look forward to sharing it with you throughout the course of the day today. Ashton Woodson is a program coordinator and works with the Children's Advocacy Center as part of Sally Kate Winters Family Services. Thanks for getting up early. Good morning to you.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Good to be here today. Children's Advocacy, that there's a lot that can go into that particular title. Before we get specifically into your role, let's talk big picture about Sally Kate Winters Family Services. Been here a long time, doing a lot of good work, and not just the Golden Triangle, but areas beyond, surrounding counties as well.
That's right, that's right.
Tell us a little bit about what happens here, just kind of a high-level overview.
Sure. So I've been here, this summer will be 8 years. We have a Children's Advocacy Center. We started off as our emergency shelter. That was in 1990. And then we grew. We have a transitional living program as well. That is for children young adults. For young adults, that is 17 to 21.
Okay.
And then we have our Child Advocacy Center. We also have a Runaway and Homeless Youth Program, and we have safe place sites throughout the Golden Triangle and a couple of other counties throughout Mississippi.
And I'm glad you used that phrase. There's a big sign on the back wall that says safe place. And that's
right.
what ultimately Sally Kate Winters Family Services is about, right? Creating a safe place for children who are coming from bad circumstances, abusive circumstances, to get them to a place where they are safe.
That's correct.
On the children's advocacy side, in terms of your role on a daily basis, what does that look like?
Okay, yeah, so I've been the CAC program coordinator since September of last year.
Okay.
I was the multidisciplinary team facilitator for 7 years prior. So day to day, we have children come here that need any type of service that has to do with child abuse and neglect. We start off with forensic interviewing. And that is so that children don't have to go to law enforcement offices and have those sit-down conversations with law enforcement. We have a child-friendly setting here, and the children will disclose or not disclose to our forensic interviewer. We also have our family advocate. The family advocate provides mental health services, making sure that we make the proper referrals for the children who need trauma therapy. We also have we make referrals for our forensic medicals to UMC. They have safe centers. And we provide any other referral that family might need or that child might need.
Yeah. You said something a second ago. You said child abuse or neglect. And obviously the abuse piece of this is, worst nightmare stuff for many of us when we think about children and being robbed of their innocence. But in terms of neglect, sometimes that means families, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles that just don't have the ability to care for a child the way a child needs to be cared for, right?
That's right.
And so what does that look like? Because that to me seems like a very different scenario than a child that comes in as a victim of abuse.
Yeah, so neglect is anything from medical neglect, not having transportation to get to medical appointments. It could be not having funding for the proper amount of food that the family might need in the home, lack of water resources, lights, not having lights in their home. And some of these things can, you don't have to take a child out of the home for. It can just be MDCPS helping put those resources in the home, and maybe us just making a referral for services. And then you have your more severe neglect that maybe the family has to be moved or the child has to be placed outside of the home until they do get the resources into that home.
Yeah. It's heavy stuff. It's serious stuff. I'm curious how you handle that on a day-to-day basis, because we kind of go about our lives. We go to work, and in a best-case scenario, we leave our work at work at the end of the day and go home to our families and then turn around and do it all over again. I don't know how, when you do this for 8 years the way you have, you're able to separate the two things, to leave your work at the end of the day.
Yeah, so it is hard, but I have been here 8 years. I've learned how to
compartmentalize almost?
Compartmentalize, taking care of myself mentally, physically, making sure that I do have proper self-care routines.
Sure.
But yes, it is hard. I think it takes a specific person to be able to work with child abuse and neglect. And I think that's why a lot of people turn, to move outside of child abuse and neglect. I think that's why there's a lot of turnover into some of the positions.
Well, and there's also got to be a really rewarding piece of this, knowing that when you go home and put your head on the pillow at night, the work that you're doing is creating better outcomes for children coming from bad situations.
Right.
Great to see you as always.
It's good to see you.
See, I told you this would be fast and easy. Not bad at all. Ashton Woodson, she's a program coordinator with Children's Advocacy Center, part of Sally Kate Winters here in West Point. We got a big day with you. We'll be here all day long. Rebecca Turner will be along, have middays, got sports talk this afternoon. Glad to be with you in West Point, Mississippi. Sally Kate Winters Family Services. Quick time out. Got the news next, then the 7 o'clock hour of Mornings with Richard Cross.
Now it's come to what you want to.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
No filibuster. Just everything you need to know to start your day smarter. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
I try to call you, but on the midnight watch I realize why twice you ran away.
This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, 601-206-7966, or go online to MWGEmployerServices.com. Glad to be with you on Mornings with Richard Cross as we broadcast live today from West Point, Mississippi. We are at Sally Kate Winters Family Services, and we're going to talk about all the outstanding things that are happening here. Before we go any farther, though, I got to say thank you. Breakfast this morning provided by Jubilations. I just kind of timidly asked during the break, is there any coffee around here? They said, yes, not only coffee, but muffins and sausage balls. And, Lance, I'm sorry not to be able to share with you, but the sausage balls, chef's kiss.
I wish
just
I was
outstanding.
there.
Great way to start the day. Yeah. I know. My apologies. I'm not trying to rub it in. But
no, I get to see you eat in the morning, so yeah, I'm
as
usually
always
hungry.
From Jubilations. Yeah, I know. And like I can't function without breakfast. So we are glad to welcome the biggest cheerleader for the city of West Point. Lisa Klutts joins us this morning to start things off. Executive Director at the West Point Clay County Community Growth Alliance. It is a mouthful of a title. That's why I went with cheerleader for West Point. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, doggone it. Somebody's going to yell at me for that. I got to turn your mic on. There we go. Try it again. Good morning.
Good morning.
Great to be with you.
I'm glad you're in West Point.
Thank you. It is always good to be here. We'll dive into all that is happening in and around West Point with you in just a second, but let's start with Sally Kate Winters and what this place means to this community.
You know, we can say we're a golf community with Old Waverly and the restaurants and the stores and antique shops, but it's really organizations like Sally Kate Winters that is the heart of the community.
Yeah.
Working together. We're just as known for Sally Kate Winters as we are Old Waverly and golf and Anthony's and steak, and how we all partner and work together. Businesses invest in their buildings, but Sally Kate Winters invests in children and the next generation.
And investing in people. And the community of West Point and the surrounding counties has rallied around Sally Kate Winters Family Services with their time, with donations, with a genuine care for the services that are being provided.
There's
here.
a huge support, not just in West Point, but in the whole region. And the Growth Alliance is a big word for the Chamber of Commerce, Main Street Association, and Tourism Office. But
sure.
we need volunteers, and the teenagers and the young adults, they come and volunteer in our office, and so they get a taste of West Point and what it takes to run a business.
We were talking about that earlier, like 3,000 give or take volunteers that have worked either directly with or in conjunction with Sally Kate Winters. There's a partnership with Mississippi State, with students, with sororities that have kind of made this their philanthropy. There really is. Yeah, I was joking a second ago when I said you were the biggest cheerleader. There are a lot of cheerleaders, though, for Sally Kate Winters.
Oh, many. I'm a cheerleader for West Point, but that encompasses a lot of things. But there are cheerleaders out there just for Sally Kate Winters, wanting them to succeed and be a great partner in the community.
Yeah. Growth Alliance, you mentioned a second ago. That's the Chamber of Commerce, the Main Street Association, and tourism as well. All rolled into one, which means you have to wear a lot of hats and keep hats. A lot of balls in the air.
Yes.
Quite the juggler. What's going on right now?
That's a loaded question. Depends on what area. When we just had election yesterday, 4 more years of Mayor Rod Bobo. We're excited for him to keep going with the momentum that he started 4 years ago.
He's been very supportive, right?
He is, yes. And he's progressive in making West Point the best it can be. We're doing beautification projects, really supporting businesses. I'll say one of the biggest businesses that's downtown, West Point TV and Appliance, closed after 70 years.
Oh, wow.
But somebody just purchased the building, and I mean, it's in the heart of downtown. So to have that building vacant would have been hard, but
sure.
The fact that somebody came in local and purchased the building and really wants to flip it and turn it into another use is just a testimony to how West Point is still thriving.
And when we were here last, and I think it was leading into Prairie Arts Festival to promote that last year, I know you and I talked about this, but the downtown area, the Main Street area in West Point, there's been a revitalization there. It's got life. You talked about restaurants and stores and businesses and a beautiful part of the town, and I know that's something you've worked hard on.
For about 12 years, I've been in my position, and an organization called Main Street Association, Mississippi Main Street. That's really what their goals are, is to make downtowns vibrant and places to go and shop and hang out. Events like Prairie Arts Festival. We did receive some ARPA funds through Mississippi Main Street, thanks to the legislature, and we're going to rebuild the gazebo, which is we have a huge green space downtown, and a lot of downtowns don't have that. So it is a true treasure and a great asset for our town. And so it's been loved for so long. It just needs some fresh air.
Little TLC
is what I call it,
to go along with that as well. So in terms of events, we know about kind of end of the summer, going into the fall. That's when Prairie Arts Festival is there. That's one of those things that you have to plan for year-round. What about in the springtime? As everything's in bloom, people are looking for a reason to get outside, looking for things to do, whether it's during the week or on the weekends. What's coming up?
Mm-hmm. Well, Easter's coming up, so that means there's Easter egg hunts, and the wisteria has just finished blooming, and that is
purple everywhere.
Yes.
It's funny you say that. My daughter was in the car, my oldest daughter, yesterday. She's like, "I love the wisteria so much. I wish it wasn't a weed." She's like, I wish there had like some green around it and you had some little white flower blooms that went. It's everywhere though, and it's gorgeous this time of year. It's one of those weeds that we can love.
I saw that, and it was kind of reminding me of kudzu. But we have an arbor downtown in the park, and it's trained. So it's organized weed at this point. So it is beautiful and a draw to downtown. I try to stay away from the spring events personally because of the weather, the unpredictability of the weather. Yeah. So I plan an outdoor event, and it's going to rain. But I work with the farmers market. It's not downtown, but it's every Thursday in June and July. So I'm coordinating that, and really building that gazebo is a little bit outside of my comfort zone, my talent skill. So I'm learning a lot of things about construction. And
no, are you doing the actual construction? You're running a power saw and hammers and nails and.
I like a good power drill, but no, I'm not doing it myself.
Put other people in charge of that.
That would be better, yes. But
hold on. For a gazebo to be a focal point of a major, this is a pretty significant gazebo, right? This is big.
Yes, I mean,
I don't guess I've seen, or maybe I just didn't notice the gazebo last time, but.
It was right across from my office. So
I'm going to check it out next time.
I'm going to need you to go around the block and see this.
Okay.
So people get married there. They have their prom pictures there. It's a focal point in the park. And it is it's historic, too.
I mean, when I think gazebo, I think like small circle-ish, but this is much larger.
And they kept expanding out, and they really called it the bandstand in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
In the early 80s. And I'd like to bring that word back. That term back, because musicians and
the West Point Bandstand.
That sounds cool.
In the heart of the green space and down. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I might use that too.
There you go. What else? And then we roll toward the summer, and it's hot. like it is all over Mississippi, and then we make that transition to the fall. There's excitement about football season. I mentioned Prairie Arts Festival a second ago. So much of the community rallies around that.
Yes. And my office is really here to support anybody's events, organization, promotions. So even though I'm few on the events that I do, I'm out there promoting everybody else's.
Your to-do list, right? I mean, obviously you talk about the gazebo and the restoration of that right now, but when you look ahead to the future, a year from now, a couple of years from now, what are the projects that you want to tackle?
You know, there's ebb and flow in downtown. Some of the business owners are getting older and ready to retire. I want to see a transition where those businesses don't close, that the next generation takes them over.
There you go.
Yeah.
That is a noble goal for the city of West Point. Lisa Klutts, Executive Director, West Point Clay County Community Growth Alliance, that encompasses tourism, Chamber of Commerce, and the Main Street Association as well. Always good to see you.
Always glad to have you.
Thanks for getting up early with us this morning.
Easy.
Lisa Klutts. Quick time out. We got more coming up with you. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Jessi Sugg will join us next. She's the board president at Sally Kate Winters Family Services. Quick time out. More coming up.
From the Venable.
Pour yourself a cup of coffee and get the Magnolia State's most important news of the day. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome again. Good morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for being with us, broadcasting live from Sally Kate Winters Family Services in West Point. I don't know really how to take it when a guest sits down and says, don't ask me anything hard. I'm not really awake yet. I feel like I just threw you completely under the bus.
You definitely did.
Just an icebreaker, though. That's all that was. Get you laughing, get you waking up. First of all, how about these beautiful kids over here?
Yes, they got to tag along before school this morning.
I'm sure they were thrilled with an extra early wake-up call before school because Mom's got something to do. Good morning. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Good to be here always. Fourth year in a row. You're the president of the board with Sally Kate Winters, and you know in different organizations, boards of directors have different roles. Sometimes they're advisory, sometimes they're hands-on, sometimes they're fundraising. What is the role of the board at Sally Kate Winters for you and your fellow board members?
So we're more advisory and also a little bit in the fundraising. Not a whole lot of hands-on, day-to-day working, but we meet monthly. We are always kept in the loop of what all of these ladies are doing from day to day. We know all of the services they're providing, but we are there to kind of advise a big picture role.
Sure. When you look at the work that is happening here, maybe I should say what drew you to the board. Obviously, you don't just slide into a president's role. There's involvement leading up to that. So what drew you in terms of the connection that Sally Kate Winters has with the community?
Right. That's an easy question. Thank you for going there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I moved to West Point about 11 years ago. And as soon as I moved here, I got plugged into the Junior Auxiliary Group, which is a civic organization. And they are very hands-on with the children of Sally Kate. So every month we would come and we would do a project with the kids, just something to, bring a smile to their faces and lighten their days. And that was just very heartwarming. And once I rolled out of Junior Auxiliary, I did 5 years with them. I think I was out maybe 6 months, and someone asked me if I would like to come on the board. And so it was absolutely, because I already had a heart for the work that was being done here. And so I joined the board about 5 years ago, and this is my second year as board president.
In terms of leadership and advisement on the board, you're looking at the big picture. You're looking to the future as well as maintaining the work that's going on. And in terms of initiatives and kind of big picture stuff. What's the board focused on?
We really look a lot at budgeting and how we can use the money that we're receiving from donations and from grant funding and how it can be put to use the best, how we can spread it apart for the different departments, for the children, for the staff. So that's a big part of it. It's just kind of looking at what are we going to do with the money that we're receiving and how we can plan best for the future with that.
Yeah. One of the things that we've talked about in the past here is that the work that is going on here is hard, maybe emotionally hard more than anything else, sometimes physically hard as well, but it's also incredibly rewarding because of the good that is being done. How do you balance those two things with the emotional toll that comes along with dealing with children who have been neglected or abused, but also realizing that, hey, there is a brighter future for many of these children because of what's happening here?
Right. I think it's a hard balance, and I can say that personally, too, just from my professional job. It's hard not to take work home with you, and you're constantly thinking about these children and the things that they've gone through, but then also what you can do to help them, to empower them and have like a brighter future. And so I think that just to balance it, you have to have a good self-care. Take some time to rest if you can. Yeah. That's always easier said than done. And then just be ready to go when you come in and focus on the children.
Is there... I mentioned your kids that are here, beautiful children that you have in a loving home. Is there a desire to say, I'm blessed with what I have. I want to make sure that others have that as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I try to bring a lot of awareness to them, too. I mean, they come in this room a lot with me and just say, some of the kids aren't blessed like you are, and some kids go through really hard times. And so we want to pour into them so they can have a life like you do, you know. And so it's definitely eye-opening on both sides of it, I think. I think that because I see how much I put into having a family, how important it is for other children to have the same experience.
Yeah. It's powerful stuff. It really is. It's incredible work that's happening here. And I think the thing that we all have to remind ourselves sometimes is the kids that find themselves here at Sally Kate Winners in these types of situations, it's no fault of their own. That they haven't done anything wrong. It's all of the yuckiness that's going on around them, either in their home or school or work settings or wherever it is. And then that is coming home with parents or guardians or grandparents or whatever that leads them to this point.
Right. And the kids, a kid just wants to be loved. That's all they want to do. They just want to be loved. And if they are being abused, then sometimes they can perceive abuse as love, and so you've got to break the cycle.
Yeah.
But they just want to be happy and to be loved, and they want someone to be proud of them at the end of the day. And so I hope that they feel that when they're here. And I hope that the children that come through the doors can take something positive from their experience.
What does that love look like at Sally Kate?
Oh, I think that the community loves on them so much. There's so many groups that come in and work with and this is just the kids in the shelter that I'm talking about. There's so many kids that come through that don't stay here, but the community will come in and provide meals and clothing and activities, and especially around the holidays, it's fun to see how businesses and others can come volunteer with them.
I want to give you a chance to brag on the people that are here on a daily basis. You talked about monthly board meetings and trying to stay connected and being part of what's going on, but the staff here that we've had a privilege to get to know over the last few years. Many of them have been here the entire time we've been coming over the last 4 years, some a lot longer than that. But to see the work that they are putting in on a daily basis, not weekly or monthly or a couple of times a year, but every single day, and to do the work, that's got to be incredibly, I guess rewarding is the word, but makes you proud to be part of an organization like this.
Absolutely. These ladies, they're fantastic, and they do so much. And, I mean, I will pop in probably more frequently than some of the other board members just because of my role, but they are just hard at work. They know it in and out, and they put their whole heart into it. They really love what they do, and you can tell.
The programs that are here, and this is something that we've talked about in the past. So there's the emergency shelter, right? The immediate needs taken care of a child who comes in. There's the Child Advocacy Center, where some of the tough work of the interviews and role with law enforcement, and then the longer-term care as well. Just kind of give us a quick walkthrough about, what each division, each silo within the Sally Kate Winters family is responsible for.
Yeah, so the shelter that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
I've kind of spent most of my time there just for my volunteer work before.
Is that almost like emergency services, like triage? Like we're going to forget about everything else that has to happen. You're here. This is about making you feel comfortable, getting you a meal, getting you clothes, getting you a bed. Is that how that works?
And it's so warming in there. I mean, when they come, they're going into a home, not a facility.
Mm-hmm.
There's a kitchen, there's a living room, there's bedrooms, and the ladies that are there taking care of them just really take them in. So it's a very comfortable environment. And then the Child Advocacy Center, I really haven't watch the work there, but I hear a lot of it. That's a lot of private stuff that I can't be a part of. And then the transitional living program, it's really cool. I'm very impressed with it because that is a bridge from foster care to living as a part of the community. And so those kids they're really learning a lot of life skills. They're having to balance education and work. They're having to learn how to manage their money. They're having to learn how to contribute to society. So it's a really cool program. I like to see the success stories that come.
And a lot of those young people are living on their own, right? In housing that's available to them through Sally Kate Winters, but there's some independence there as well.
Right. So we have two houses across the street, and one is for males and one is for females, and they live as a group there.
Yeah.
But they're responsible to getting themselves to and from work or from school. And it's really cool. They have a lot of responsibility, but they have someone looking over them in case they need guidance.
Jessi Sugg is the president of the board here at Sally Kate Winters Family Services. Thanks so much for stopping by this morning.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Great to see you. It makes me feel old. I got a sir there.
I call everyone sir. It's okay.
I will take it. I'll take it.
Yeah.
We got more coming up with you. The one and only Joe Max Higgins scheduled to join us in the next couple of segments. I'm always going to hold him over. Good talker. Great work happening as well. More with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi, right after this.
To believe in this living is just a hard way to go.
The Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Shaping Mississippi politics each morning. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
I can't survive. I can't stay alive without your love. Oh, baby, don't leave me this way.
Good to be with you this Thursday morning, the 3rd of April, broadcasting live from West Point, Mississippi. We're at Sally Kate Winters Family Services, telling you the story of Sally Kate Winters and how it incorporates with the community here. Remind you that the C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. In sports and business, having the right team behind you matters. Partner with C Spire today for business solutions from dedicated, certified IT engineers. Learn more at cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. Joe Max Higgins joins us now. If you have listened to Super Talk Mississippi for any amount of time, you've heard from Joe Max before, CEO of the Golden Triangle Development Link. You strike me as a guy who probably has a nickname, but I don't know your nickname.
In college, it was Taco.
Taco.
Look at me.
I was going to say, is there anything other than the obvious from where that came?
The obvious.
Okay. Taco Higgins joining us this morning as we broadcast from here. This has been your home for a couple of decades now, this part of the state of Mississippi, and the work that you have done with Link and growing the business community has been incredible. But you've also had kind of a front row seat to watch some of what is happening here at Sally Kate Winters and the impact that it has on the community. Tell us about that.
Well, I work for 3 counties and 3 towns. And I think what's happening here at Sally Kate Winters kind of embodies what West Point and Clay County is. There's just a sense of spirit in this community, a spirit, a team, an esprit de corps that if a need comes up, boom, they do it.
It's not every day you get esprit de corps rolled into the morning, but I'm glad to have
and it's
that.
early. It's early, but seriously, of the 3 places I work, there's probably more of that here.
Yeah.
That if there's a need, if there's something, they're carrying people. They'll roll up their sleeves. They'll have a good party. They'll always feed you good.
Yeah.
But it's just, I think what's
sausage balls and muffins back here.
I heard that.
If you need some.
But seriously, this does not surprise me that this is here, that this work is going on here, because it's the kind of people that live here and work here.
Yeah, and it works because the community supports it, right? I mean, and I don't just mean financially. I'm talking about volunteering time, being supportive financially of it, whether it's businesses or individual. There are a lot of people that work together to make Sally Kate Winters the place it is.
Yeah, and it's God's work, and it's important, and for that matter, I think the people see it, but then they do it, but they still roll up their sleeves and do it.
Yeah, really incredible stuff. Incredible stuff happening every time we visit with you. We talk about development and projects and growth, and you don't seem to take many days off.
Well, you can't. I mean, there's a lot of folks in this business, they'll have a win and they'll talk about it for, 6 months, 6 years. Remember back when, it's emblematic of the town that you drive in. It says that they won a state championship in football in 1957.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've seen those places.
Absolutely.
You probably didn't allow
What have you done
ones.
since?
Yeah. And we years ago, I worked for a civil engineering firm, and I was in business development. And I'd go get a deal, I'd get it put together, get it funded, get it ready to go, and I'd move on to the next one. Rarely did I go and look at the projects that were getting built. My job was to do the next one. That's the way we treat this. Pat yourself on the back one time and, get one good newspaper article and then roll on to the next one.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we do it.
You've gotten a little more publicity than just one good newspaper article, not just here in Mississippi, but regionally and maybe even nationally as well. One of the things you and I have talked about before, and it's really fascinating to me, is there is a model for what you're doing, but it is not and there might even be an instruction manual, but it's not easy to follow the model because you got to have so many people committed,
correct,
and pulling in the same direction, and not just for a little while, but for a long time.
That's correct. And getting everybody on the team.
See, I've paid attention when we've talked.
Well, I know, but getting everybody on the team, getting everybody figuring out what keeping your eye on the prize, keeping it, going where you need to go.
Yeah.
In 21 years, I will tell you, we've had a lot of success, and people tend to start getting lazy. People start getting slowed down, and they don't push as hard. And, we're in a period now where we're having to pop that ass just a little bit, okay, on some folks to say, hey, if you want to continue to do this, you better get on with the program.
When the country hits an economic hiccup, whether it's 2007 or the uncertainty that exists right now, I mean, tariffs going in yesterday and lots of people not sure what the market's going to do, not sure what it's going to look like long term. Does that cause the people who have committed in terms of investment and growth to this area to go, hold on, maybe we need to slow down a little bit, or are we sure about this? Have you seen that?
Yeah, well, it affects them. When the economy slows down, I mean, PACCAR makes engines for trucks.
Right.
And when there's an uncertainty and you're not ordering 150 trucks because you're a big fleet, then, they've got to lay a few people off. The steel business ebbs and flows. The aluminum business is going to do the same thing. A lot of the governmental work with the defense stuff kind of stays the same, but when they have cuts in the defense, sometimes it's our hair's on fire.
Right.
But we've got to watch that, and we're watching the tariffs. Somebody said, well, that'll help your steel and aluminum plant. And I said, yeah, but there's some other guys that it'll hurt. I mean, PACCAR imports parts that go in the engines that come from, foreign countries. And
more than anything, it's uncertainty, right?
That's right. That's right. So hopefully this will get figured out. I'm not saying it's good or bad or whatever. It is what it is. I watched it this morning on the news before I came over. So, we'll see. And I think, probably in 3 or 4 months, I did talk to one of my manufacturers, and he said, if we want to commission a different part from here that we've been getting, say, overseas, he said it's about an 18-month process. By the time we find somebody that can make it, start making it, test it, ramp them up, start building. It's 18 months. I said, so sometimes it's better just to sit and wait and see how this thing works out. And he said, that's right.
The fascinating thing to me about this entire tariff conversation, Trump said publicly, I guess it was in the joint session to Congress, he's told everybody this was coming.
Yeah.
And is doing what he said he was going to do, but he sounded a bit of a warning alarm. He said there's going to be some short-term pain, but it's a longer-term play, and I feel like that correlates kind of to what you've done. There's some short-term uncertainty at the beginning when you launch this, but it's about long-term success, and it's about rolling it forward. We don't know what the long-term is going to look like with tariffs. We don't know if you're going to have officials in office long enough to see it all the way through.
Well, that's true in life. I mean, we had a big week last week. We closed on the mega site, closed the property. The supervisors invested millions and millions of dollars. There's not a tenant for it. We anticipate this week, next week, we'll get our approval for our water and sewer loans that we're taking out the infrastructure. Those are long-term investments. Now, everybody thinks we make an investment and somebody will come tomorrow. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And you're right. Politicians come and go, and, you got to look for the long term. If you're looking for the quick hit, it's a pretty tough life.
So with the very first, was the first one a mega site? Do we call the first project? All right. So with the first mega site, when you launched that, was it Field of Dreams style? If we build it, they will come, or did you have a lead and feel like if we do this, we're pretty sure this guy's coming in?
No. TVA unveiled that program at corporate TVA. There were 500 people there to hear about it, see about it. Our mega site, the first one in Lowndes County, was the first mega site certified in TVA. Only 2, us in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. We did not have a tenant for it. The politicians were asked to spend $170,000 in engineering design. We had to option the property from the landowners. They were skeptical. I mean, there hadn't been a lot of big things happening in a long time around here, okay?
Sure.
And it was kind of like, well, you want to try, we'll let you try. And we got it certified in less than a year. The steel mill came in because it was that good of a site. It was that much farther ahead than people. Then we did the second one. Pack car came in before we ever exercised our options. Then we did West Point's Yokohama before the options ever expired to purchase it. We had a tenant for it. On the Infinity mega site, we held it for 10 years. But now we've got over a $3 billion aluminum mill getting built there.
Did that get uncomfortable as it sat there and was ready?
No.
Or you were far enough along financially that you could hold out?
That's it. Because we sat down early on with our guys and we said, we're going to make money on these and we need to put this money back into the program.
Okay.
And so when it got to the Infinity mega site, the one we held on so long, profits from the steel mill phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, projects from Pack Car, projects from other fee and lieu projects we did, more than made the debt service on the land. So, like the Cinco mega site that we closed on this last week, there is enough profit, more than enough profit, off just the aluminum mill to make the annual land payment on that. So all it is just parking the money, waiting on another deal.
Yeah. Certainly interesting times. Joe Max Higgins joining us, CEO of Golden Triangle Development Link. We're going to spend a few minutes. I'm not even asking anymore when I ask you to stay over. You just know coming in it's going to be. I wasn't asking.
Okay, you got me.
But you're here. I knew you would be. Taco Higgins with us on this, what is today? Thursday morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. That nickname might stick.
It has over the years. Yeah.
We'll be back with you right after this.
We never even said a word. We just walked out and got on that bank. And we rolled. And we rolled clean out
Mornings with Richard Cross. Here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
What else?
And always on the Super Talk app.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi, nearing the end of the 7 o'clock hour. Two quick things for you. First of all, we're talking about Sally Kate Winters Family Services. They rely on donations. They rely on grant programs and lots of individuals. If you hear stories throughout the day today that touch your heart and you feel called to make a donation to help the work that is happening here, you can donate through your phone. Text DONATE to SuperTalk 25 to 91999. So just grab your phone, dial 91999 in the text app, and then text SuperTalk 25, and that's to make a $25 donation? Or do you... No, it's just SuperTalk 25 as in your 25. Okay, yeah, but, and then do you put the amount that you're donating in there? Okay, there you go. I just want to be clear about that. The other thing I wanted to mention to you as well, a post on Facebook from Governor Tate Reeves. Severe weather has impacted our state as storms move through overnight. We were talking earlier about not entirely sure about some of the damage. Preliminary reports of damage in Tate, Marshall, Benton, and Tippah counties. DeSoto and Alcorn counties likely affected as well. MEMA has Mississippi Task Force 1 out, the search and rescue team, making sure that first responders have all of the support that they need. And the governor says that updates will follow as information becomes available. Joe Max Higgins, he is CEO of Golden Triangle Development Link, visiting with us this morning. And I made kind of a off-the-cuff reference yesterday. It's like, what happened to just thunderstorms? Like, it used to rain, and we used to get thunderstorms, and now it feels like every time this time of year one of these systems comes through, there's severe storms that go along with it.
Absolutely.
Ugh, no good. You mentioned closing on Cinco, the most recent mega site for the Link, Golden Triangle Development Link, and tell me about that process, because I know it's not something that happens overnight.
No. We've been talking about it for somebody says, well, you've been talking about this 2 years. That's how long it takes. Yeah. Okay. So as soon as the aluminum mill was announced, as soon as the day we punched the plunger and blew up the bomb and the colored stuff came in the air, powder, we started working on our next mega site because the aluminum mill took 2,200 acres. Okay. And so we were basically out of property. So I've been having my eye on this property since I got here. I brought the owner in 20 years ago and said, would you be interested in selling your property? And he said, no. And over the decades, he said, no. I brought him in. I said, I know what you know what I'm going to ask. Let me just ask you. And he said, yeah, I'll sell it. And I said, what's changed in the last 20 years? He said, the first time you asked me this, I was 60. I'm 80 today. And so we signed an option with him, came to terms with him, and then we started doing what's required to be a certified mega site. So it's all the due diligence. It's the wetlands, it's the floodplain delineations, it's the cultural resources, it's soil borings, it's engineering, it's all the stuff that goes with ALTA surveys. Power is a premium. To have power, big power, and a lot of these power companies are saying, yeah, we can get it to you, but it's 36, 48 months. Well, that's too long when a customer company comes. So, never been done before in the history. We paid TVA to go ahead and pre-engineer and plan 150 megawatts to the site. That'll be done in June.
Wow.
And that knocks 24 months off that process. So now we're a year to 2 years. And you can't get a big project built in a year to 2 years. So now we're inside that window.
Right.
But all that due diligence has to be done, planning, water, sewer. Then you have to get funding. You can't just buy a piece of dirt and say, there it is. That won't work. That won't make you competitive. So what we do, different than probably most towns in Mississippi, is we go ahead and put that infrastructure in. So that when a deal comes, we're ahead of the next guy.
Sure.
And when Governor Reeves puts some money in the deal, that goes to offset the cost of the company, not do infrastructure that has to serve the site. So automatically, we become more competitive with anybody around.
Yeah. You mentioned the governor, the role. I mean, we've seen just big economic announcement after economic announcement, whether it's Madison County or Marshall County all over the state of Mississippi. Obviously, there is a good relationship between your office and the legislature, your office and the governor's office. Do you have kind of a standing green light from the legislature? We've seen the pattern of success. Go get the next one, and we'll get you what you need?
Well, no, I don't think we do. I think we got to sell every deal when it comes in. But here's what I think. I think we built a relationship and a reputation that when we bring something and ask, it gets a serious look. Okay, it's not.
It's easier for them to say yes, maybe, than it was at the beginning.
Yeah. And I will recall. I'm not going to name him. He could probably get mad. But one of the senators, when we were doing the aluminum mill the night before, there was an event, and we were there, and he came in, and I went up to start pressing him on the wall and selling him real hard.
Right.
He said, "You don't have to," and he's not one of my counties.
Okay.
And he said, "You don't have to sell me, Joe Max." And I said, "Well, I think I do." He said, "No, you don't." He said, "The steel mill, it's owned by the same company." He said, "The steel mill work." He told me this. Now, I knew it, but he did too. He said, "The steel mill works 950 people, and 111 people in my county work there." I think they'll have roughly the same percentages of the aluminum mill. You don't have to sell me.
There was a proof of concept there already. Continued success, my friend. Always good to visit with you.
Thanks for having me, and y'all doing good work here.
Sally Kate Winters Family Services, 8 o'clock hour coming up next with you. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome again, Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Streaming at supertalk.fm, SuperTalk TV. Glad to have you along. I want to remind you that tomorrow afternoon, Sports Talk Mississippi will be live at Suggs Farm, Lawn, and Garden in Saltillo, just across the highway from Barnes Crossing in Tupelo, for the Drive Green Spring Sales Event. Deals on John Deere commercial mowers, 0% for 48 months. And 0% for up to 72 months on all compact tractors. That's Sports Talk Mississippi at Suggs Farm, Lawn, and Garden in Saltillo. We're glad to be with you starting out a big day here at Sally Kate Winters Family Services in West Point, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. The C Spire text line is always open, 601-879-4395. C Spire, inspired by you. Hard to follow Joe Max Higgins. That's at least in terms of personality. We're going to do that right now with Collen Hudson. She's Deputy District Attorney and a board member here at Sally Kate Winters Family Services. And Trina Davidson-Brooks, also an Assistant District Attorney. Collen, Trina, Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Thanks for stopping by. Collen, we'll start with you. You've been here before. Obviously, there is incredible work that is happening here, but Sally Kate Winters is not an entity that operates on its own. It's in cooperation with law enforcement, with the district attorney's office. How does everybody work together?
Well, we work together, very well, but starting from the very beginning when the report comes in, either from law enforcement or Child Protective Services, they schedule forensic interviews, and we work together all the way up until the trial. And I just tried a case actually in January. I was thinking about it on my way here, where the forensic interviewer with Sally Kate had said that she had done over 1,000 forensic interviews.
Wow.
And she was just one interviewer, and it's not over a 30-year period or anything like that. I can't remember exactly how long it was, but it was just within maybe 5 or 6 years she had done that many. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's such a huge need for people like her, and it just really highlighted how much the children depend on Sally Kate Winters and their services.
And Trina, that's a sobering number. My wife and I were talking last night, and we were just kind of talking about what goes on here, and she made the comment, she's like, there's more of that than we want to realize. There's more of that than we want to think about.
Yes, I agree. Sadly, it is. However, in our district, I think we're blessed to have Sally Kate Winters because they offer services to children or minors who are victims of sexual abuse. And I've always thought or had the opinion that it's easier to rebuild or help restore and build strong children than it is to repair broken men and women. And by saying that, I mean that Sally Kate provides, when they first get the report of a child who's been sexually abused or physically abused, that child becomes a priority. And even after that, they are provided with services, whether it's medical services, counseling, or any other services that Sally Kate Winters provides for them. They get those services immediately. And then the other agencies come in and do the necessary thing that they need to do to collaborate so that that child won't be a victim again and that child can move forward in healing and being restored.
You know, one of the things I've asked some of the people that work here on a daily basis is, you know, how do you deal with this when you go home at night? Because you're dealing with children. You're dealing with children that largely are coming from abusive situations. They're heartbreaking stories. So what about from your perspective, from the district attorney side of things? How do you not take this home with you at night, or do you?
You can't not take it home with you. I have two kids. I have a 9-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter. And so when I look at them, I can't help but to think about the other kids who are going through things in their lives. And it makes me want to hug on my kids a little bit harder and to be there for them. But in the back of my mind, I know that every day I can get up and know I'm going to do a job that I am able to protect children. And it's not by myself. I have the help of other agencies, including Sally Kate Winters.
Well, that's exceptionally well said. Collen, you mentioned the forensic interviews a second ago. Walk us through that process, because you as deputy district attorney likely going to be trying a case. I'm assuming there's part of you, it's like, I want to be or I need to be asking these questions. But there's a collaboration that works with the forensic interview who is trained specifically to do that with an understanding of what you need. Is that right?
Right. So we're actually able to sort of sit on site here at Sally Kate, and they have a camera system so we can watch it live. And so the forensic interviewer is able to interview the child, ask age-appropriate questions, and then conduct the interview in a way that's not leading, which helps us later in court, you know, because sadly, in a lot of these cases, what the defense is, well, you can't depend on what the child's saying. You can't rely on that either because they're too young or someone's, you know, quote unquote, put them up to it.
Sure.
So the forensic interview's trained in that. But, you know, other details or things we have to prove, which can be hard for a child as far as like dates that it happened or locations that it happened. While we're watching, you know, here on site, we can sort of have some questions that we anticipate would come up on trial and have the forensic interviewer go back in and ask those in non-leading ways that help develop the case further.
You know, you talked about the approach that the defense takes a lot of times in terms of saying you can't rely on that. How do you walk that line in terms of you want to believe a child, you want to trust a child, but you know that you've got to make sure that what they are telling you is the truth. It's what has actually happened. It's not something that they've created or enhanced with kind of within their own mind. How do you walk that line?
So with that, we rely heavily on the investigators, that being law enforcement,
right,
to go and do investigative work to try to find some corroboration to take the weight off the child's shoulders. Because these types of incidences of abuse are not done out in public where you've got a bunch of witnesses. So a lot of times it is just the child. And so we'll say, you know, look at their school records. Was there a change in behavior? If they said mom was at work, can you pull those employment records and, you know, verify that, you know, this person was alone with that child at this time period, just something to try to help their voice, you know, be heard and be considered as truthful because we've got something to corroborate it.
Trina, one of the things that, I mean, maybe one of the frustrations that people have with the justice system, you've heard that old saying, the wheels of justice move slowly. It takes a while. So in terms of one of these cases, I know they're all unique, but when you take one of these cases from the day a child first comes into Sally Kate Winters needing a safe place, and that process begins, until you get a verdict from a judge or a jury. How long is that timeline?
Well, typically from the first day that child makes a complaint up until the conviction date or the date that defendant enters a plea if he decides not to go to trial. I've had a case that went at least 3.5 years. And the reason that is because it's a process, right? Once the child actually discloses something has happened to him or her, then that's when law enforcement gets involved. But there's a process as far as the person developing the evidence. So the investigators have to come on board, as Collen talked about, gathering evidence. They have to do a complete investigation. And we encourage our investigators to do thorough investigations, because if you do thorough investigations, that makes it easier on us to get convictions. And so once they go through the investigative process, it has to be presented to a grand jury. The investigative process may take a few months depending on the type of case you have, what evidence you have, and whether or not there's evidence that's collected that has to be sent to a crime lab. Maybe there's DNA that they recovered from a sexual assault victim that's a minor. Maybe they took their underwear and it had to be sent to the crime lab and they took DNA from the defendant. That takes a few months to get back. And so once it does get back, we're able to present it to a grand jury, and then it gets on our circuit court docket, and usually takes a few months for us to either plea it in a plea bargain or go to trial. And what we usually tell families is to trust the process.
Colin, I'm thinking about the child victim during that time frame in a case that lasts 3.5 years, in a case that lasts 2 years. How do you, and as part of the work that Sally Kate Winters does, the mental well-being of the child as that process moves along, whether it's fast and only takes a year or it's one that feels like drags on forever?
So Sally Kate is really good about offering mental health services, setting the children up with therapists, different types of therapy. I know they've done referrals for like play therapy that are more child appropriate, but might not be the actual sort of therapy idea that we have in our minds as adults. So they work with them where it's not just waiting for the finality and closure on the criminal side of it. I would almost say that the criminal side isn't the main focus for Sally Kate. It's child focused.
Yeah.
So.
Both of you are doing incredible work. I appreciate you coming and spending some time with us and sharing the story. And we all continue to cheer for and applaud the work that's happening here at Sally Kate Winters.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So good to see you. We've got more of Mornings with Richard Cross on the way. We'll take a quick time out and get back with you right after this. You can join online at supertalk.fm, streaming at SuperTalk TV. Of course, you can always download the show as a podcast as well. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From Sumner to Summit to Summerall, Richard has something for you. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Back with you on this Thursday morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, the beginning of a big day here at Sally Kate Winters Family Services in West Point. We're going to be here for the entire day. So starting at 10 o'clock, Gerard will be here for middays with Gerard Gibbert. Rebecca Turner this afternoon starting at 2. And then from 3 until 6, the boys with Sports Talk Mississippi will wrap things up. And throughout the course of the day, we're going to be telling you about the good work that is happening at Sally Kate Winters Family Services. A reminder that if you would like to donate to the work that's happening here, text to donate. SuperTalk 25. Text that word to 91999 on your phone. Again, it's 91999 if you would like to make a donation. You hear something that's going on at Sally Kate Winters, and it touches your heart a little bit. We'd love for you to share in the work that's happening here. I'm glad to welcome Genika McGee now. She is a TLP advisor. TLP, an acronym for Transitional Living Program. Genika, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks for being with us. I talked about the work that is happening at Sally Kate Winters, and we know about the counseling programs, and we know about the forensic interviews, and we know about the emergency shelter. One of the most fascinating things to me, though, has been learning about the transitional living program. So many times when we think about abusive situations, it's about younger children. But you've got older children who are making that transition from high school to the next stage of their life. And maybe they don't have the support that they need. Is that the biggest thing that the transitional program offers?
Support, mental health services, life skill classes.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna raise your mic just a little. We want everybody to be able to hear you. You said mental health services and life skill classes as well.
Yes, sir.
What do those life skill classes look like?
So whatever they may need once they leave the program, so that may be learning how to write checks, maybe open an account,
just kind of financial literacy
right.
in terms of moving
how
forward.
How to look for a job, how to fill out an application, along the lines of that.
Yeah, and that's stuff that I guess we take for granted. Interestingly enough, the legislature had a financial literacy program that would go in place for school-age children across the entire state. Don't think that one made it to the finish line. Not sure why. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it may be the single most valuable skill that a young person learns before moving into the next stage of their life.
Right.
In terms of the way that the kids receive you, the kids welcome you in or welcome this program, what's that like? Are they excited about it? Does it take a little while to build trust? What does that look like?
Well, no, sir, because by the time they get into the program, they have already met me because I do the interviews.
Okay.
And once I do the interview, I get them into the program. And for the most part, like I said, my part is the mental health services. And so I kind of reach out and link them to resources so that they can complete the program in the 18 months.
And when you say the interviews, you're talking about interviews for the transitional living program?
Yes, sir.
So more times than not, are you dealing with children who want to be part of this program as they move to that next step of their life?
Yeah, a lot of them want to be a part of the program, but they're just not able to be a part of the program.
Why is that?
It could be for, one, drug issues, and our program is just not set up for youth that are on, like, heavy drugs.
Right.
And again, we do still link them to resources if they're not a good fit for the program.
Is there an accountability piece where they have to uphold their end of the bargain if they enter the program?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe you don't have like if there's a drug problem coming in, but that's not something that if you while you're in the program you get outside the boundaries, you have to stay in line.
I mean, of course, each youth still have to pass a drug test while they're in the program.
Right. Yeah. Tell me about a success story or two that you've seen, where you've seen a child enter the program. You know, maybe they're struggling mentally, maybe they are not ready to make that transition, and you've seen the program help them.
Well, I won't say mentally. I think more it was the support. She liked the support, but because she had support from us, she had built support from the school that she worked at. She was able to complete school at Mississippi State and go on to become a teacher.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So that was a very big success story for us because we've seen how she struggled while she was here with the relationship with her mom.
Well, it's incredible, right? Because you never know what a person's background is. You know,
right.
from what have they come to get to where they are, and I mean, it's a story about overcoming the odds and having a lot of people in your corner pulling for you and trying to help you along the way.
Yes, sir. And we encourage the relationship with their parents, but at the same time, you know, there's only so much that we can do on our end.
Well, and that's got to be a healthy relationship too, right?
Healthy relationship.
Do you deal with some of that in terms of your coaching and the mental counseling that goes on where you're trying to walk that line to hey, a relationship with your family can be a good thing, but it's got to be a healthy relationship?
Yes, sir. We talk about boundaries a lot when it comes to our families.
Boundaries.
Boundaries are very, very important because sometimes the parents overstep the boundaries, and sometimes the parents want to try to control the youth while they're in the program.
Yeah.
And so, again, I go over boundaries. The life skill coach goes over boundaries. So we're working hard to teach those boundaries so that when they do leave the program, they will know what it looks like and they can, do it.
Wait, you want to talk about something that's hard. I'm guessing that I'm older than you. I mean, I see people that are my age, and I'm sure you see people your age. We see people that are older who have trouble with boundaries, right? Whether it's with a parent or an in-law or a brother or a sister or an aunt or an uncle, and it's because usually that involves saying no. Usually that involves saying, no, I'm not going to do this. No, this isn't a good idea. I'm not sure there's a harder word in the English language to say than no on a regular basis. But it's hard to establish families because you're dealing with feelings. And usually, not always, but usually people are not trying to be in a place that's improper from a boundary standpoint. Sometimes they are, I guess. But you still have to tell somebody that you love or that you care about, no.
Right. And sometimes it takes work. I mean,
sure.
Again, that's not a 2, 3, 4 sessions. That may be a month, 2, 3 months where we're learning what boundaries look like. And that may be you going through something while you're here, and maybe we're having to help guide you. But, no, it's hard.
Is there a situation where it also becomes hard because when you need to put up a boundary, sometimes what you are stopping feels like love or feels like support, and you're dealing with somebody who maybe is longing for that because there hasn't been enough of that, and yet you still have to say, no, this isn't healthy, this isn't the right way to go about it?
Right, yes. Because sometimes you're so used to things being the way they were. And so now you're trying something new, and it's foreign to you.
Yeah. Certainly it's heavy stuff. Why are you in this role?
I enjoy working with the youth in this program. I enjoy the mental health side. I enjoy watching the youth, I'll be honest, not every youth that comes through the program does well, but they do learn something, and that's enough for me to say, hey, at least I know I did something that you can take with you for the rest of your life.
You told me that you grew up in Starkville, so in this Golden Triangle area. Mm-hmm. Were you aware growing up of Sally Kate Winters and the work that was happening here?
I was not.
Really?
I was not.
Did you become exposed to it while you were in college, or was it only once you were kind of in the job market?
It was once I got in the mental health field and I started kind of, filling out some of the places around here, just locally, like community counseling, just, any other mental health places.
It's an incredible place where incredible work is going on, and the role that you play is certainly an important one. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed you.
Great visiting with you. You sat down and you're like, it's a long time we're going to talk. I told you we'd make it easy. Right? It was easy enough.
It was easy.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Very good. Genika McGee, she's a transitional life program, turn the wrong mic down. A transitional life program counselor here at Sally Kate Winters. And it's a place that touches all ages, right? You have the youngest of children coming in from abusive situations. You have children that are in their formative years. And then you've got kids who are getting ready to take that next step in life. And we know that in the best of situations, sometimes that next step after high school can be scary. When you compound that with abusive relationships, boundaries that are being crossed, it makes it especially difficult. And we're grateful that people like Genika are here to help young people who are making that transition. We got more coming up with you. Scott Colom's going to join us next. He's the district attorney here in Lowndes County. Benjamin Land, assistant district attorney, going to join us as well as we continue to tell you the story of Sally Kate Winters to you on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Morning, partner. The sun is up, the coffee is on, and you're starting your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
You know, the sign of a good leader is when they've got good people underneath them, and it is evident that Scott Colom, who is the district attorney for this area, has got a really, really good team in his office. We visited with Collen Hudson and Trina Davidson-Brooks earlier. Scott Colom joins us now, district attorney, and Ben Lange's assistant district attorney with us as well. Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Richard. Thanks for having us.
We are at Sally Kate Winters Family Services in West Point, and this is a place that deals with abuse and neglect with children of young ages, with children who are in middle school, junior high, high school, all the way through, and is trying to protect them and make sure that justice is served for those who are abusive to children. The scum of the earth, I might say.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Scott, good to be with you again. Several years that we've had a chance to visit. Remind people the counties that you serve.
Yes, sir. I represent Lowndes, Atiba, Knoxville, and Clay.
That's pretty good sized chunk there, and probably more work than you would care to think about some days.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we've got close to 200,000 people in the district, and I'm blessed to have a staff that works really hard and are very passionate about the community and passionate about safety. And when it comes to kids, there's no bigger priority than keeping our kids safe.
In terms of, percentage of the cases that you're dealing with, how many that come through your office are abuse cases that are involving children where you're really having to dig in and coordinate with Sally Kate Winters?
I'd say probably 10 to 15% is what I would guess. I haven't pulled the numbers recently, but it's two phases to it because you have the investigation phase, and a lot of times we try to be a partner in that because when you have forensic interviews, those are so key to have experts who know how to ask questions to children, know how to get the information you need, and then we need to partner with the investigators to make sure they follow up with that information to corroborate it for prosecution.
Ben, Scott talks about the cooperation and the collaboration. Talk me through what, and I know there's no such thing as a standard abuse case that you're dealing with, but talk me through the process from when the district attorney's office first becomes involved through a court case, through a trial, what that looks like.
So the cooperation is critical. I think from the very beginning, a lot of times we'll get a call and we'll be told initially that they're going to have a forensic interview here at Sally Kate. And that interview, so often, it gives us building blocks to go forward with the investigation. And so we'll be working, there's almost a triangle trio there between Sally Kate, the investigator, and then our office where we're talking with the investigator. Okay, let's look back at this interview, see who this child talked about in their interview that we can go and interview then further to get more facts about the context of what might have happened, where it might have happened. Then once we figure that out, a lot of times from the interview, we can go back to that location, get pictures, establish where that child was when it may have been in a house. There may have been other people there, and it may be important later on for the jury to see, well, this bedroom's down at the very end of this house, so it is possible that somebody could have hurt this child while the mother was asleep in the house. And the worst thing that can happen is that we just take that interview and then we run to a trial. Because what you've got then is you've got this child who's got to testify probably at court, which can be a horrible thing, and there's nothing else there to help them. And so what we're trying to do is take that interview and then build an investigation with evidence that we can then support that child's testimony at trial and give them something to fight back with.
Now, Scott, I've got to assume that, and maybe I'm making a false assumption here, but one of the things, you come into a situation like this where you have a child that is telling a story of abuse.
Right.
But you have to make sure that it's a real story.
Right.
Because the allegations of child abuse, an indictment, a grand jury that says this has got to go to trial, those are really, really serious things. And it not only are you dealing with the life of a child, but you're also dealing with the potential of completely changing the life of an adult going forward. How do you go into this with kind of a clear mind and no preconceived notions of, we got to put this person in jail as soon as we're able to, and really listen and understand all the dynamics of a case?
Well, that's a great question because it is very important that during the investigation, you don't make any assumptions. When you interview that child, that's why Sally Kate Winters, you can tell from their training, they're not assuming anything. They're just trying to get information. Mm-hmm. And when Ben talks about not putting too much pressure on the child's testimony through other investigative tools, that also protects the suspect. Because what you can do is interview the mom, interview the girlfriend, interview the boyfriend, interview the family members that are identified as part of the investigation to make sure there aren't any improper motives or improper conversations happening. Because for a child, particularly a young child, I don't think, in my experience, 10 years doing this, they're going to lie unless somebody else is improperly influencing them and giving them some motivation outside of what's right and wrong. And so it's very important that, again, you go back to the investigation and make sure you cover all your bases. And then the next thing is the grand jury process. You have 20 to 25 citizens who are told that they are to be the vetters of evidence and that they have an obligation to protect the accused as much as indict the accused. And so through that process and the questions they ask, I've learned that they'll be quick to make sure that they are trying their best to get it right. And that's a big protection from an indictment. And that's one of the things that Ben in my office that we do really well is we try to let the grand jury take charge, listen to their questions, let them be sort of an investigative body, because those are the people that are ultimately going to make a decision as to whether somebody's guilty or not. And if you follow their lead, usually they're going to make the right decision.
Yeah. You know, Ben, there are people listening that have served on a grand jury, but there are a lot of people that have never done that. And if you haven't been part of a grand jury, I think it's kind of hard to know what that process is like and what goes on behind closed doors, because there is a high level of importance that's placed on that being a confidential deal. Take us behind the scenes. What does it look like to be on a grand jury? What is that process like for the citizens, private citizens that Scott referenced a second ago, who are called to serve in that role?
Well, first of all, if you get called to serve on a grand jury, I highly encourage it. It's my favorite part of my job, quite frankly. It is rather than going to trial and you may just hear one case and there's tons of breaks, the judge is calling the lawyers in and out, you come in and you hear about everything that's going on in your community for the last 3-6 months, whatever the term structure may be in that county. And so you're hearing, it's rapid fire. You may hear a case every 15 minutes.
Wow.
That the investigators are coming in. The investigators, there's no rules of evidence at the grand jury. So the investigator comes in, they testify what the evidence would be at trial, and then we'll have specific exhibits for each case that we think are important that the grand jury sees. But at the same time, we want to treat it, it's a double-edged sword in a way. We want them to be critical to the evidence and go through it. And so the best grand juries that we have are people that are there to ask questions, to go meticulously through the facts of the case, and some of them are very obvious on its face. These types of cases that Sally Kate deals with can be, a lot of it can depend on what the child says and what the context of what they say. And so grand juries will have the opportunity then, if they want to get more evidence, they can send us out, send the investigator out and say, listen, we appreciate the hard work you've done so far, but for us to make this decision, we really need X, Y, and Z. And they can go get it. And so it's a very interactive process, and it's a very democratic process. There's the people are voting. We've got to have a certain threshold. It's not like a regular jury where all 12 have to agree. But it's still a super majority within that room have to say, I believe that there's probable cause that a felony has been committed and this person committed it.
Scott, when a grand jury makes a decision, is that binding?
Yeah, it's binding.
So does a case come to an end or come to a close if a grand jury does not bring an indictment?
The only way a prosecutor could present it to a new grand jury, because you want to avoid grand jury shopping, is if there's some new evidence, right? If you had a case where a child was accused a father of sexual assault or something, and then later on there was a witness that came forward, or there was some DNA that came forward, that new evidence could allow you to present it to a new grand jury. But outside of new evidence, no. Here's one thing I want to add to Ben's point, because I think it's important. If you think about when you register to vote, right, you have a right to vote in each election. The only obligation you have in response to that is you have to serve on juries. That's the only responsibility you have. And we've had, the thing about people, they're usually nervous about doing it, but once they get on the grand jury, they love it. You learn a lot about the law, and it's a real important community service.
Yeah, certainly is. Almost sometimes people play games with how can I get out of jury duty, and there's a difference between jury duty and serving on a grand jury, obviously, but certainly is an important part of the process. Thanks to both of you. Good visiting with you. Always a pleasure, Scott, to catch up. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Ben, thanks for coming by this morning as well. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Got about half an hour left with you as we broadcast from Sally Kate Winters Family Services in West Point. Clearly, if you're listening, you understand how important the work is that's going on here. We appreciate you being with us on this Thursday morning. More coming up right after this.
Where you're from, Abbeville, Batesville, DeIberville, or any other ville in the SIP. You're starting your day off right. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
I lied to you going into the last break. We don't have half an hour left. We've got like 7 minutes left. Later today on In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar, you'll hear part one of an interview with Seth Power, who went from the gridiron at Mississippi State to the music stage as a singer-songwriter. In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar is presented by Superior Catfish. There's catfish, then there's Superior Catfish. Ask for it by name at your favorite store or restaurant and go to superiorcatfish.com for more information. So we have come to the final segment of the show, and I'm happy to welcome Tim O'Brien from Renasant Bank. Renasant Bank. He's the market president here in the Golden Triangle area. And we'll talk a little bit about the Mississippi Children's Promise Tax Credit Act. Renasant is a donor to Sally Kate Winters Family Service. And Pooja, I'm going to let you say your last name so I don't mess it up.
Shaunak.
That's easy enough. I should have gotten that one right. Pooja Shaunak is the finance and grants manager here at Sally Kate Winters. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Thanks for stopping by. Let's start with a bit of an announcement, and Tim, I will let you do the honors. There's been a great partnership between Renasant Bank and Sally Kate Winters, and you brought a check this morning.
I did. On behalf of Renasant Bank, we're proud to once again present funds to Sally Kate in support of all that they've got going on here.
Why is it that bankers don't want to say numbers out loud? $75,000, an incredible donation from Renasant and their philanthropic arm to Sally Kate. So, Pooja, I'll ask you, a donation like that, what does it mean to the work that's happening on a day-to-day basis here at Sally Kate Winters?
It's definitely very crucial, especially now since there's changes with all the grants and at the federal level. It really just helps us a lot and keeps us going. And most importantly, it's for the kids.
Your job is to ask people for money and to balance the books and make sure that the money to operate on a daily basis is there. Can you speak a little bit to the generosity of the community here in West Point, of the greater Golden Triangle area and the counties that are served, and just how much the community supports Sally Kate Winters?
Right, absolutely. So we're just really thankful for the partnerships with Renasant, other banks, other community members here in West Point, as well as the Golden Triangle. Honestly, if we didn't have that support, we may not be open. I mean, I don't know about all that, but we're just really thankful for it, and it's definitely a crucial part in the finance aspect here at Sally Kate.
Tim, Renasant is a bank that has grown just exponentially over the last decade and a half. It's a southeastern footprint, but headquartered in Tupelo, just down the road, and the growth of Renasant has given the bank the ability to do more work like this, supporting local organizations. Talk to me a little bit about the importance of markets supporting local causes.
Sure. As you said, a corporate office in Tupelo, Mississippi is, our original home, and it has just an honor in all of our communities to be able to give back to Sally Kate and to other organizations like this throughout our footprint. And we realize that the funds that we are able to give go to good causes such as Sally Kate, and we like to recognize the work that they're doing in our communities and around our communities that we serve and they serve together.
Tell me a little bit about the Mississippi Children's Promise tax credit.
It is essentially just a way for businesses to instead of paying taxes in, taking a tax credit and giving those funds instead to nonprofits such as Sally Kate.
It's way more fun to give money to great organizations than it is to the federal government.
Absolutely.
Not that we don't have to have that. Pooja, when you were talking to prospective donors, to corporate clients that might be looking, what do you tell them? How do you tell briefly the story of Sally Kate Winters?
Sure. So Sally Kate Winters has been here for about a little over 30 years, and we're just an advocate for children that may be going through a tough time at home. They don't have shelter right now, runaway homeless youth. So we're just really that home away from home, or a home if they don't have one, during this time.
There's incredible work that's happening here. I want to say thanks to Tim, you, and all of your colleagues at Renasant Bank for your support of Sally Kate Winters. Certainly a worthy cause. And Pooja, thanks for stopping by and sharing part of the Sally Kate Winters story this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And we thank you for being with us. The stories are not going to stop. Gerard will be in starting at 10 o'clock this morning for Middays with Gerard Gibbert. You got Rebecca Turner with Good Things coming up at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and then Sports Talk Mississippi this afternoon from 3 to 6 as we broadcast all day long today at Sally Kate Winters Family Services in West Point, an integral part of this community and of our larger Mississippi community here across the state. Thanks for being with us, Lance. Thank you. Always appreciate Houston and Alex for their work behind the scenes when we are on the road. Look forward to being back with you soon. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. Have a fantastic Thursday.
A Super Talk Mississippi media production.